So today I want to talk about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Is regulation needed for mass adoption? Now, this can be a convoluted question. There's a lot of different angles you can look at. Let me first say this one. Let me just first cover what I'm talking about here for a moment. When I say is regulation needed, what I'm referring to is the actual cryptocurrency themselves or the blockchain technology itself, should it be regulated? Think about that question for a moment. Should the government be able to tell us what sort of blockchains can be created, what sort of cryptocurrencies can be created, what we should or should not do with those cryptocurrencies? Should they be regulated in that way? Now, I'm not saying should one individual be able to directly physically harm another individual. Should one individual be able to outright mislead another individual in some sort of a decentralized environment? Meaning, I don't, the whole purpose in blockchain technology, if you've been following my videos on what is a blockchain, and the last video I did about smart contracts was a smart contract. If you've seen those two videos, then you understand that the whole purpose is to create a trustless environment. Keep that in mind. I want to start off by watching this video here. This video, we'll start the first part of it. Just listen to this.
I think that the internet is going to be one of the major forces.
I hope you call that July 1999, way before Bitcoin. Let's back that up again.
I think that the internet is going to be one of the major forces for reducing the role of government. The one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A.
That was from Milton Friedman, who's an economist, and he's been long passed away, and I don't even know that he ever lived to even hear about Bitcoin per se. However, I saw part of this documentary tonight. What I'm going to watch the rest of it later, but the part that I saw, Bitcoin Beyond the Bubble, full documentary, it's a great documentary. But I was blown away when I saw Milton Friedman. I'm a little bit familiar with him, primarily because of the video I'm about to show you next with him. However, that was astounding that he himself understood the purpose and what he called e-cash. Now, this is the primary purpose of my channel, above all else, is about education, entertainment, education, and really evangelism of cryptocurrency. Evangelism is the best word. Evangelism of cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency technology, blockchain technologies. Because as you've heard me say many times, this is going to revolutionize the world. But I find that before we can get to that point, there has to be a cultural shift in people's mentality. I'll show you a great example. Slowly, people are starting to get there. Once people are in this space and they start researching in this space, they start playing in this space, they start using some of the technology, they start sending, receiving Bitcoin, they start figuring out how all that works. They kind of start getting it, if you will. There ends up being this, it's like almost like their brain kind of turns on and they start saying, wow, I understand it. Wow, it starts to make sense. I see the differences in using a bank. I see the differences in relying on a bank or not relying on a bank. I understand how this is decentralized, distributed, trustless environment. It's starting to make sense to me. But it takes them a while to get there. And I want to show you a video I was watching earlier. By the way, sorry, that's not the video. The video was about PoWH3d. And this gentleman's channel, Dewon Trades, I watched some of his videos. He's got a pretty good channel. I encourage you to check it out. But he says something in this video when he's talking about PoWH3d that shows that he's getting there, but I don't think he's quite got there completely yet. And it's amazing how people are really just kind of missing the boat for a moment. So first, if you don't know what PoWH3d is, it's a cryptocurrency. It's a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. It's a blockchain application, but basically the way that it works is you purchase the PoWH3d tokens And anytime that you buy or sell the tokens, the price of the tokens go up or down. But anytime that you buy or sell, there's a 10% fee to purchase the token. So if you buy $100 worth of tokens, well, you end up with $90. That 10% fee, just like if you bought Bitcoin on Coinbase that charges, you know, like a 4% fee. Proof of Weekends, it just costs a 10% fee. But when you buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, that 4% fee goes to a corporation, a centralized authority who controls the website. That centralized authority is obviously Coinbase. Proof of Weekends 3D, when you buy Proof of Weekends 3D tokens, there's a 10% fee, but that 10% fee does not go to a centralized authority that controls the website. This website is just a website. Without getting too complicated, it basically is just a gateway. The website in itself doesn't matter. Proof of Weekends 3D actually exists on a decentralized blockchain, Ethereum blockchain. That's where it exists. It's set up as a program on the blockchain, if you will, or a smart contract on the blockchain, which means that nobody can change it. So when you buy or sell Proof of Weekends 3D tokens, there's a 10% fee. But since there's no central authority, where does that fee go? Well, the fee goes to the other token holders. It goes to the community. It goes to those who own the Proof of Weekends 3D tokens. It's like a reward for believing in it almost. Or it's like a reward for holding it. By holding the Proof of Weekends 3D tokens, then you help maintain the value of the token. You help maintain and build on the use case of the token. And I don't want to get into much details about Proof of Weekends 3D, but I want to just catch you up to speed when you start to hear what he says. Now, this is videos about, is regulation needed? I want you to listen to what he says.
I'm talking about, I'm really seeing the vision now of Proof of Weekends, the smart contract will be similar to how Bitcoin is, and I think it will be the Bitcoin of smart contract dApps like itself, or you know, the way that it works. I see it like a.
What he's talking about is he's beginning to see he's been a part of Proof of Weekends 3D for a while, but he's done it from just a speculative nature, from an kind of an investing, play the game, gambling nature, just trying to make money. But he's saying, hey, I'm beginning to realize, wait a minute, there's a bigger potential here. I get kind of what this smart contract thing is all about.
I see it like a well-structured cup, you know, a well-structured glass, right? A flawless glass. And the use cases that can be modeled from it will really change the world.
Okay, he's talking about the use cases. So a couple of examples of potential use cases with a token like this, or a cryptocurrency like this, or a crypto coin like this, is that 10% fee gets paid out in dividends that can be cashed out instantly. So this is imagine for a moment, you know, let's just dream big here. Imagine for a moment if this is how the US dollar worked. Every time that you went to a cash register and you bought something, or every time someone paid you every time someone paid you, when they paid you, like your paycheck or whatever, you know, you got 90% of it. But just for holding dollars in your savings account, every time other people made transactions, they bought or sold dollars, every single time that occurred, you got a portion of the 10% fees that they paid on every transaction. Think about that. So what would happen is you would be rewarded for saving money. The more dollars you had, you would be earning rewards or dividends or part of the transaction fees that happened with all the other dollars out in society. Now, I'm just trying to give you a broad, general kind of understanding. One of the examples of this token is, or this cryptocurrency is, imagine it as a long-term savings account in the crypto space. As people use it, you earn dividends. Right now, it's at about 0.25, about 0.25% a day. So basically, you end up, at that rate, somewhere around 60 to 70% a year is what you would earn. There's no traditional investment of any kind on the planet that's earning a passive 60 to 70% a year. And that's, by the way, this is all speculation. This isn't some sort of financial advice or guarantee at all. If you read my disclaimer below my video, you'll see that I always say, might as well consider my video satire. But currently, that's what is being earned at the current rate. That's what's being earned in Ethereum. So something like proof of weekends, now we are very, very, very early, but he's saying, hey, I see the use cases for this. And the use cases that I personally think of or think about something like a social security system, something where you can pay in, and over time, the more you pay in, it's like a long-term savings account that could be used to self-insure yourself medically. That could be used to, as some form of a homeowner's insurance. It could be used as some form of a social security down the road. Think about social security. A centralized authority determines what they're going to do with that money, and they control whether you get that money back or not. So here in the U.S., you pay into social security your entire life. But another authority tells you they dictate how much you have to pay in out of your paycheck, and then they dictate when you can choose to get when you can start getting your money back, and at how much you can get back. But it was your money that got paid in, and they're in charge of it. Think about that. Okay, let's listen to what. So he's saying, hey, I'm beginning to see some of the use cases. So he's got there. He's part of the way there. He's beginning to see some of the use cases. Let's keep listening.
That's how I think the proof of smart contract that's been mastered by the devs on proof of weekends will be world changing. This glass, this well-structured glass, which is the smart contract, is going to be, you can put anything in it. Kool-Aid, orange juice, a smoothie. You can use it for good, and you can use it for something that's just shitty, you can put some crap in there, like, whatever, but it's still a cup that you can fill it with use cases, right? So this is genuinely how this thing is going to end up, man. It's going to end up changing a lot of lives, and I think for the better. Now,
at this point, I couldn't agree more with what he's saying. Like the light bulb has clearly went on, and he's getting it, and he's put some personal thought into this, and more people will slowly start to do this. Part of my channel is wanting to be able to educate people and to wake people up, and I encourage you, by the way, to subscribe to his channel, continue to watch him, because it's fun to watch people kind of come to this evolution and start to get it even more and more and more. I mean, he's gotten it before. He's seen some value in this space before. Proof of Weekends 3D is not the first thing that he, come across in the cryptocurrency space. So he's gotten it so far. I mean, he's been introduced to it, and he's the concept of cryptocurrencies, and now he's going to that next level thinking. But let's keep listening.
Because this is a force to be reckoned with, this smart contract that has been created. We've seen it used for clones, and we've seen it. I think we'll see it used for a lot of things. Now, when it gets to that point where it's going to have those other use cases, like that's really going to help shift society in a positive direction, there's got to be, that means there's going to have to be some type of regulation involved when it gets to that point.
And that's the fundamental problem. Well, let's go back. So he believes that we need regulations in this space. Let's listen to what Milton Friedman talked about when he talked about greed. The reason regulations people say it's needed is because they're worried about people taking advantage of one another. Listen to what Milton Friedman had to say.
When you see around the globe the maldistribution of wealth, the desperate plight of millions of people in underdeveloped countries, when you see so few haves and so many have-nots, when you see the greed and the concentration of power within, did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy. The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade. If you want to know where the masses are worst off, it's exactly in the kinds of societies that depart from that. So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear, that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
But it seems to reward not virtue as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think a communist commissar rewards virtue? You think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? You know, I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us.
Well,
I don't even trust you to do that.
So, where are we going to find these angels to organize society for us? That's a huge statement. Up until now, even capitalism runs amok because of crony capitalism. Capitalism runs amok when people with money use that money to be able to manipulate central authorities. We do not live in a utopia. We will never live in a society where everyone is perfectly equal in financial status, in the homes they live in, the cars they drive, the vacations they take. That will never occur. We live on planet Earth. However, it can become possible with decentralized, distributed, trustless cryptocurrency and dApps. It can become possible that we can get far closer to a society where being manipulated through a central authority becomes less of a possibility. The entire purpose of cryptocurrency, the entire purpose of Bitcoin, the entire purpose of the Ethereum blockchain is decentralized authority. By far. Cryptocurrency will survive or thrive based off of how the people embraced decentralization. Meaning no central authority. That's going to be, can we succeed? Can something exist in a decentralized space? If you want Bitcoin to be regulated, then what is the point in it being decentralized? You know, governments are going to resist Bitcoin because they control currency through the printing presses. They print more. They control, what happens. They dole out power to lobbyists. They award big lucrative contracts. Anytime that you start to take some sort of authority, I think it was not one of the Rockefellers. I'm drawing a blank. It was there was, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. It wasn't the Rockefeller. It was someone who said, oh my goodness, it was the person who, there was someone who said, there was a banker who said, let me control a nation's money supply. The Rothschilds, one of the Rothschilds said, let me control a nation's money supply and I care not who writes its laws. Because he understood as an early central banker, really probably the father of central banking, he understood that it was the people who control the money who ultimately have the most control over what laws get written, etc. So regulation, yes, I believe that I'm not an anarchist at all. I believe we need governments. And however, the less authority that we have to have in a government, the less room there is for manipulation by the human leaders who may have great intentions, but all humans can be manipulated. All humans can be manipulated. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your feedback on this video in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up notification if you agree with me. Together, we are going to start educating through this channel, through your efforts. We're going to start educating people that we know. You can refer them to my channel, refer them to my videos, refer them to other people's videos. I encourage you each and every day to attempt to have a new conversation with someone. Introduce the concept of Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be a meaty, crazy conversation. Just plant the seed. Just plant the seed. This is a community effort. Mass adoption is going to take place through grassroots mass education. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.